Okay, so today we're going to make a little video about one-way bearings and why they don't work with your pull starter on your RC car. So here we have a couple different examples. We have the kind with the one-way bearing that goes on the outside. Shot here, I think so, yeah. So we have this style with the pull starter bolt onto this side, and we have an internal style like this. And your one-way bearing will be in there. So there's often a problem where you go to start your RC car with a pull starter and it just slips, it just won't turn the engine over, and you can pull and pull and pull and all it does is drive you crazy. Well, today we're going to learn how to fix that. It's pretty simple. All you're going to need is some isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol like this stuff from the frame, this stuff. A light oil, this is automatic transmission fluid and kerosene mixed together. Some sandpaper, this is the only sandpaper I had, which is 240 grit. And you're going to need your one-way bearing shaft, or whichever setup you have. And you're going to also need to clean this. So you're going to take this, you're going to throw that in a container, and you're going to add some alcohol to it, make sure it's really clean. You can use a Q-tip in there if you have to, or a rag or something to pass it through. Okay, next step, what we're going to do while that's cleaning over there is you're going to take this and you're going to get yourself a bit of sandpaper. And the whole idea here is just to remove the glazing, because what will happen is some of that castor oil from the fuel and whatnot will get on here and inside the bearing, and it'll just create a glaze and a really polished, smooth surface, and the one-way bearing, which is a sprag clutch basically, just will have nothing to grab to. So all you do is you take your sandpaper. And the thing is, with the external setup like this, you don't have to remove the shaft from the engine. You can leave it on. And all you do is you take your sandpaper, and only where the bearing sits. You don't want to sand the whole shaft. You just want to sand right where the bearing sits, because if you sand here, you might loosen up the tolerances and it's going to leak. So take your sandpaper and just kind of, let's see if I can shot here, rough up the surface a little bit. You're not trying to really remove any material, you're just trying to take that shiny surface off. This sandpaper is just crappy Dremel sandpaper, but you get the idea. You just want to keep doing that until you'll see it, you'll notice it right away as soon as it starts to happen. And just take your time and just kind of clean that off all the way around. Make sure you do it evenly. If you have a bigger piece of sandpaper, you can spin it on there, even better. But like I said, you're not trying to remove material, you're just trying to create a fresh surface for that bearing to grab on. You can see that how much cleaner it is. We'll repeat the same process on this one with a new piece of sandpaper. So you just take that and you give it a couple spins on there, and like I said, this will give your pull starter something to grab onto, your one-way bearing I mean. And just in a little bit of time you'll see usually around 350 grit wet dry sandpaper like emery cloth. You can even use 500 grit, works fine, anything really. Don't use a file, don't use grinders or anything like that, just do it by hand and take your time. Within a minute or so see how much cleaner that is, like that. That's what you're after. You just want to clean and rough up that surface a little bit. And next, what you're going to do is take yourself a paper towel, take some of your denatured alcohol or rubbing alcohol, whichever. These are just junk parts, spare parts, used parts, so now you're just going to take that and you're going to clean that off really well. Get any of that sanding material, any of that paper kind of stuff off there, any of that grit, and take your time and clean that. You can see, it's not going to focus, is it? Oh, kinda. That's what you're after. And you just want to sand where the bearing sits, nowhere else. Leave this part how it is. If you start sanding this part, it'll start putting play. You'll create play in here and you'll get a leak. An air leak, and it'll start leaking oil out of everywhere and just be a mess. So don't sand the whole thing, only where the bearing sits. And then next, after your bearing is done drying, well, cleaning. I didn't actually clean this one, but I just, you know, demonstration purposes, you know, make sure it's nice and clean and dry and free of oil and contamination. Obviously this one still needs to be cleaned, but you get the idea. And then you want to put, and this seems counterproductive, but this is what you're going to do, is you're going to put just a little bit, not a whole lot, just like a drop of automatic transmission fluid in there. Like I said, mine's mixed 50-50 with kerosene, just to make it a little bit lighter so it flows into places easier. You don't have to do that, but that's just what I do. And then when you reassemble, that thing will grab every single time and work perfectly. But like I said, this is an internal bearing, so it doesn't need to be lubricated. It's lubricated by the fuel. If you have an external like this, like I said, you're going to need to put a little drop of oil on there like that, and that'll prevent that bearing from seizing to the shaft, because if that bearing is completely clean and there's no oil, it can seize on there and destroy your one-way bearing and destroy the shaft. So you might want to just keep that in mind. Anyways, hope this helps. Over and out. Happy New Year, by the way.